In the beginning, there wasn't just one universe, there was all of them. Every decision not made, every untraveled path, every abandoned thought, all of it existed somewhere. The multiverse wasn't theory. It was a teeming ocean of realities, vibrating in countless invisible layers, alive with possibilities, millions of Earths, civilizations under purple skies, humanity as gods, and others that never passed the first cell. Timelines where death was vanquished, worlds where time ran backward, echoes of futures and pasts intertwined in a web too intricate for even the most advanced observers to fully grasp. It was like gazing into an infinite mirror, each reflection forging its own destiny, spawning new reflections in cascade. And in everyone, existence expanded, folded, collided, and endured. Yet behind the chaos lay an order and instinctive logic sustaining the whole. As if the multiverse had purpose, or at least direction. No center, no edges, only possibilities, and they were infinite. But even infinity has a hidden boundary, a limit no one foresaw until realities began to vanish. Not with cataclysm or cry, but in utter silence. As if they never existed. And thus began the slow, invisible collapse of all that was and could ever be. No warning, no red flaring alarms, no visible tear in the fabric of existence. Universes vanished like forgotten thoughts, entire realities erased as if someone somewhere simply forgot they existed. First came the fragile and stable worlds, brittle timelines, improbable civilizations. They dissolved like cosmic dust on the wind, no trace, no struggle, just absence. Then, the vast and ancient universes with billions of years of history, galaxies, cultures, wars, and wonders, even those began to disappear, not through thermodynamic collapse, not via quantum annihilation, but as if the very possibility of their existence had been removed from the equation. That's when the observers noticed. Interdimensional charts, once immutable, showed voids. Time jumps led to empty corridors, portals opened to nowhere. And worst of all, those who visited the forgotten realities couldn't remember what they'd seen. Records corrupted, memories erased, like trying to recall a dream that never happened. Something, or perhaps the multiverse itself, was erasing its own flaws, wiping the frayed edges of the cosmic tapestry, not out of malice, but like a living system purging what it no longer needs. And, in that total silence of endings, universes fell one by one, leaving not even an echo. The first theory, quantum collapse, dimensional failure, or entropic anomaly. But none withstood the harshest test, absence, because there was nothing left to study. Nothing to analyze, just voids, where once there was everything. Then emerged a darker hypothesis. The multiverse was not being destroyed, it was exhausted. Each universe, every parallel reality, existed from a choice, a deviation, a possibility. But what if all variations had been explored? Every combination of time, space, matter, thought, had already occurred. An ending not by violence, but by logical exhaustion, like a story told to its final word, with every possible ending written, rewritten, read, forgotten. Existence didn't stop because it was cut off, it halted, because there was nowhere left to go. That was scarier than any disaster. It was the silence of creation that had done all it could, the final exhale of a system that had said all it could say. Universes weren't dying from lack of energy, they dwindled from novelty's absence. As if the multiverse, weary, closed its eyes, not in pain, but in boredom. And in the wake of that exhaustion remained only one point of awareness, the last fragment of all that was ever possible. When everything ended, something remained, not a star, not a civilization, not even a particle. What remained was a consciousness, not exactly human, but not human either. It was the final reflection of a species that existed in limitless forms. It was him, and at the same time, all his alternative selves fused into one. Every decision never made, every version of him that lived a life different, every death, every rebirth, every love, Every mistake pulsed within him, in perfect simultaneity. He wasn't born, he emerged, from the convergence of all variants, all yous that ceased to exist. This singular mind was born the end point of human consciousness, but he had no body, no time, no language, only memory. He floated above nothingness, bearing the weight of billions of existences as if they were his own. They were dashed somehow, but also were not. And in that silent, dark expanse beyond light's reach, he was the lone observer. And maybe, by some forgotten law of physics and metaphysics, as long as one observer remains, something of the universe still endures. But how long, and to what end? He remembers holding a daughter he never had. He recalls wars both won with honor and lost in disgrace. He feels the bullet that never struck him. He carries guilt for betraying someone he never met. He weeps for parents who, in some lives, never were born. These memories aren't his, but he bears them like eternal scars. They are fragments of possibility, echoes of alternate selves who lived entire destinies before vanishing. Every memory pulses like an extinct star in the absolute dark, but they don't come ordered. They overlap, distort, swarm. He no longer knows which life was his. Maybe none were. Maybe all were. His identity is shattered shards. He's king and traitor, assassin and martyr. Father, orphan, explorer, suicide. All of them live within him, and nothing suffices, because deep down, he knows he isn't an individual. He's the statistical sum of all human possibilities that ever were. And now alone in the ruin of the multiverse he carries their heritage. No body. No story. No home for those memories to rest. Only him, and the burden of what no longer exists. He walks, not because there's ground, but because he remembers walking, each step more symbolic than physical, through a void that only resembles movement, a memory insisting to repeat its echo around him. The absolute silence of a dead universe. No color, no light, no time. No sound, no wind, no contrast. Everything has been erased with care, leaving behind ghostly outlines of worlds that once bloomed. He passes ruins no one built, incomplete structures, fragmented buildings that seem to belong to unimagined dreams, remnants of worlds begun but never finished, fossils of abandoned ideas. He tries to recall which world this was, but all that remains is a distant déjà vu, a fragmented nostalgia. Maybe he lived here, maybe he died here, or maybe it never existed at all. Impossible to know. Reality has lost its weight. Now it's conceptual dust. And yet, he observes, he walks among failed possibilities, like an archaeologist of what might have been. He seeks nothing, expects nothing, but he watches. Because perhaps, just perhaps, if something can still be witnessed, then a spark of existence remains, and he is the last bearer of that flame. He's no hero. There is no glory in being the last. No applause, no purpose, no audience. Just the crushing weight of being the final point of awareness in an erased cosmos. He carries no hope. He doesn't rebuild. He knows there is no matter to shape, no laws to uphold, no time to endure. Only him, and him alone, the ultimate witness, consciousness observing not by choice, but by inertia. And with that comes a silent duty, to remember. To remember what was, what could have been, what should never have existed. He's the living memory of billions of species, the last breath of art, science, love, the echo of hatred, creation, failure, all humanity in all its versions compressed into one being. And he feels it all, not as a story to tell, but as a burden, a cry with no ears left to hear. At one point, he wondered if there was meaning to it. If being the last had any value. But the void replied with silence. And in the silence he understood, the universe demands no meaning. Existence is not about reason. It is about presence. And now, that presence is himself, the living reminder that once we were, even if all has vanished, he still is. In the absolute silence of non-time, he begins to doubt. If only one observer remains, does reality still exist? That question gnaws at him more than any memory, more than the weight of infinite lives he carries, because all that constitutes existence, space, time, cause, effect depends on relation, on motion, on contrast, but he is alone, without another gaze to confirm the world, without another mind to validate the moment, without anyone to remind him that this is still real. And then comes the most dangerous question of all. Does he even exist anymore? Perhaps everything is just a final simulation, a thought that survived the death of the multiverse. Perhaps he is just the last spark of consciousness, drifting in a sea where logic has already dissolved. Or perhaps it's even worse. Maybe what sustains reality was never matter, not energy, not physical laws. Maybe it was the simple act of perceiving. And now, with no one left to perceive alongside him, existence itself folds, slowly, inward, like a page, without a reader, like a story that insists on continuing, even after all are gone. And on this endless page, only he remains, and the question that echoes like a ghost, forever on the verge of an answer: what is real? When there's no one left to remember, he thought the end was absolute silence. But something persists, fragments, residues of reality that refuse to fade, as if the multiverse, even in death, resists complete forgetting. Every memory he relives, no matter how faint, how distorted, seems to reignite a spark. For a fleeting moment, he feels something, a color, a sound, the smell of rain, in a world with no climate, the laughter of a child who was never born. They are memories that refuse to be mere past. They vibrate with an intensity that defies the void, as if screaming against extinction. And he feels that, by remembering, he's rebuilding invisible threads to what was lost. It's not resurrection, not recreation. It's resistance. Memory becomes a sacred act, a defiance of entropy, a silent refusal in the face of total forgetting. And with this, he understands, perhaps the multiverse was never upheld by physical laws, but by those who remembered it. Perhaps existence doesn't end when everything disappears, but when no one remembers it ever was. Now, he's the guardian of that memory, not because he chose to be, but because no one else can. He's the last breath of the multiverse, and his memory is the only spark that keeps it from vanishing completely. Perhaps what sustains a universe is not gravity, not particles, not time. Perhaps what keeps it whole is remembrance. The simple awareness that something was, that something existed, even if only for an instant. That is what prevents reality from being erased completely. He feels this now, with clarity. He's not a scientist, nor a god. He's just a fragment, a shattered mirror of what we once were. But as long as he remembers, we still exist. Every world, every story, every love never lived, every forgotten sacrifice, every planet that shone for millennia before collapsing into silence, all of it lives inside him, in the living memory of what the multiverse once tried to become. And then he understands the truth that was always there, hidden beneath layers of chaos, logic, and despair. The end is not forgetting. The end is when no one remembers there was ever anything to remember. But as long as he breathes, or simply exists, that line will not be crossed. He will not create a new universe. He will not reverse the collapse. He will not save anyone. But he will continue to remember, even if time no longer exists, even if the light has been swallowed, even if the void is all that remains. Because as long as there is memory, nothing is ever truly lost. And if, one day, something or someone emerges from nothing, perhaps it will find hidden among the ruins of the impossible, the whispered memory of all that we once were. And with that a new beginning,